right, everybody, it's Anthony Brogdon, and I'm in rare form today because I got a lady on the channel. She got a backdrop. She thorough. She got a picture of a building in her community, which, ooh, you're going to really like this story. This is one of them black town settlement situations that I've been telling you about that I didn't know about until I did some research for my upcoming book, which will be out within the next few weeks, titled That's My Land. And I thought long and hard of what would be the title of it. And in the middle of the night, that came to me because to me, that expressed it, that's my land. And then what people did to get the land, and then what other people did to take the land away. And so look for that, everybody. If I did I say I'm Anthony Brogdon, an ordinary guy trying to do something extraordinary? Because that is my moniker. Because of the people who come on the show, it's been amazing. And just like this lady here, you're gonna really, and she's eloquent too. She's gonna tell it and concisely and all that other stuff. So it's that kind of thing that makes me a better person because we over 600 strong. Y'all, did you watch the video I did with the lady that was a sharecropper who tells her story?
I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch the video with the lady who talks about what happened on Galveston Island?
No,
Watch
I
that
didn't get to see
video.
that. Yeah.
Did you watch the video of the guy who runs the Negro Baseball League Museum? Watch that video, everybody, just to give you an idea of some of what's on this channel. And so, like I said, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. There is no love button on this one, but you're gonna love it. And hit the notifications bell so that when the videos are posted, and I post something every week, more than once, you get a ding, a shock, a smoke signal that there is new content on Strong Inspirations. And then tell somebody about us. Let it flow. Tell people who don't like Black history so that we can change their mind. You pick the video that you want them to watch. You can move the cursor past me for those in those classrooms and just got limited time for the kids to understand this. Like, for example, one more I want to share with you. We got the great-great-granddaughters of the black guy who owned a car manufacturing company in 1905. Little known story. The great-granddaughters are here, Strong Inspirations. Couple housekeeping notes. You all know that I'm a filmmaker, everybody, and this is my book. You got to get you a copy of Black Business Book. It is America's #1 Black business history book. It is super comprehensive. As you see, it's over 200 facts. It's really about 250, 260, because I list at least 40 Black-owned newspapers, another 40 Black-owned banks, all the HBCUs, but I just put that under one fact, one large heading. So it's a lot of them. You'll love this book. Easy to read. I got to tell you something. I got 2 new books coming out within the next short while. One I just sent to the printer as of the taping of this show. It's a children's coloring book based on this book, the Black Business Book, titled They Did It. I got 30 rich Black people in that coloring book. Your kids will be inspired, educated, and artistically challenged to do this coloring book. Get you a copy of that. And then also I'm coming out with That's My Land, the history of Black towns and settlements, which is how I kind of got in touch with this lady that's on the channel today, this expert that's on the channel today, as I did the research for that book. I'm speaking around the country, and so because I'm sharing this, this is my ministry at this point. All that is again on my website. Go there. I don't put the book on Amazon because he got enough money. I will promise you that the book will come in the mail to you at expeditiously when you order it at businessnintheblack.net. Do it today. Now you hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word, and in my world, strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to the strong sister on the channel today. Come on, lady, let's do this thing. Tell us your name, and we're ready to roll with you.
All right. Thanks for having me. I want to say thank you. Simply thank you for having me join you today. Thank you for welcoming me into this space and into your community and into this story of talking about Lincoln Hills. Let me share a little bit about
Oh no,
myself.
no,
My
no.
name is
The
Dr.
first thing I want you to share, what's your name?
I'm getting ready to.
Okay.
My name is Dr. Jeanette Patterson, and I'm the executive director of Lincoln Hills Cares. Lincoln Hills Cares is we're a charitable organization located in Colorado where we build community, we promote outdoor equity, and we support the environment. And it's through our outdoor education and recreation programs, it's through environmental STEM initiatives, it's also through college and career readiness, skill development, as well as our preservation, our cultural history, exploration, and preservation efforts. And I think that's what we're going to dive into today in terms of learning about the history of the history of Lincoln Hills. I'm a 30-year educator, retired in this business of being in a nonprofit and being in a dream job. History's also always been a love for me, and I just love working with Lincoln Hills Cares and
All right.
spending time with young people up in the
All right. Well,
mountains.
that was see how thorough she is. That's why she got that PhD. that was that was well put, everybody. So let me. But before we get into some of those that you just mentioned, the stories, I do want to let my audience get to know you just a tad. So where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Wellington, Kansas, about 30 miles south of Wichita, about 15 miles north of the Oklahoma border.
Oh,
I
really?
was
Okay.
born and raised in a family of two parents, middle
Yeah.
class family. A
Yeah.
mom that's worked in the public schools. My father was the first African American on the school board in Wellington, Kansas, as well as he was a director for a facility that employed mentally and physically challenged adults. And he opened this facility with a buddy. So he was the founding member of this place called Futures Unlimited.
Oh,
Very
really?
prominent family in the community that was well respected by an all white community.
Oh,
Let's
really? Yeah. Let's talk about that. Where is this? It's located near what major
South,
city? That
it's in South Central Kansas. It's about 30 miles south of Wichita, Kansas. So
okay.
Wichita has all your folks that migrated from the south up to into Wichita area, Kansas being a free state
Right.
years ago. Well, my grandfather migrated to Wellington, Kansas via working on the railroad in the mid 1930s and made it to Wellington where he worked for the railroad and he was a porter for the Antler Hotel. So, and
Okay,
then
let
was
let me
born and
ask you
raised.
that. But I excuse me for this
Oh,
interrupting.
that's okay. Yeah.
Is it your town? What's the percentage of black, white, that kind of thing?
Okay, so I would say that the community at that time was probably about 8,000 in population. 90% of them were pretty much white.
Oh,
Probably
really?
about
Okay,
7% was Hispanic and 3% was black.
okay. With that, so you're in the suburb of Wichita, would you say? Is
It
that
was it, no, it's an individual small
oh,
town. It was a
small
small
town?
town,
Okay.
yeah.
Um, did so you played with mostly white kids?
I was the only black person in my graduating class.
Wow.
So all of my friends were white. All of my five best friends that I had, girlfriends were white.
Well, I gotta ask this because I must admit I don't have too many white friends, if any.
I know.
How is it to play with white people? Did do is I mean, do you say something different or
So,
Yeah,
I
what's that dynamic?
okay, the dynamic is that I had a couple of friends. I had about four girlfriends that I hung out with, like, like middle school, high school, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And a couple of the friends were pretty close friends. Their parents were accepting of me. I would spend the night, you know how we all do the night, the overnight
yeah, sure,
spending it at people's houses.
sure,
I would stay
sure.
over at their houses, but I did have one friend who her father was a racist. And I didn't know, and especially in the elementary age, my mother would never let me stay the night over at her house. I rarely went over to her house. And when I was there, the father was never there. And I didn't know it, but my mom knew that he was racist because I'm in the fifth grade.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not thinking about all of this, but she knew that he was racist, but I could never really go over to her home. But
So,
I
so did the girl ever slip up and say, "Dad said something about you"?
no, no. We were in Girl Scouts together, everything. No,
Did you
nothing.
ever get a feeling that he was racist? Where I know you
I
didn't
was
meet
never,
him.
to really be honest, I was never really around him.
Oh,
So
really?
I knew him as, as an adult, and being older, I knew she
Yeah.
had a father. But here's how I figured it out. When she was getting married, and she married a guy out of her race, he wasn't white. Her father wouldn't walk her down the aisle.
Oh,
Her
he
brother
was just that
kept.
bad.
Yeah, he was that bad. And she married
Okay,
a Latino guy.
okay, and maybe you can with your ex smarts and excuse me for saying it. When we talk about white people, and a lot of times the people I've interviewed on the show says
Mhm.
uh, the kids were racist because their parents were racist and they taught them how to be racist. Could you see something in that girl that she fought against what the way her dad was?
Absolutely. So the majority of my friends, even though we were the group of the one black girl and the rest white friends, we always swayed to the African American way, the music, the
Oh,
dress, the
really?
talk.
Okay,
Yeah. So we were the cool group, right? We did the cool thing. We hung out with
I
each
got
other.
you.
We listened to Lakeside. All
Yes,
what was out during that time, that's what we were doing.
yes,
So we didn't really sway to the white way. We
yes.
swayed to being that group of girls that were just having fun.
Did you have to be the voice to influence them on the black way?
Not really, because I had so really by the time I was in high school, we were still friends, and I would never be that voice to influence them on the black way because we were always friends and we always knew what was black and what was white.
Uh-huh.
But I had a really close friend who I'm really, really close to today. She would always be with my family. So she would consider herself to be a black woman in a white woman's body.
Oh, really? Okay, I've heard of that. I've heard of that.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
so I would, and she understood the nuances of the black way because she
yeah,
was always with me. But the other girls, they just kind of went on their way. We
yeah. I got
ended up
you.
being really, really good friends, and we're still good friends today. But
Yeah,
she
sure.
understands the whole black experience, even though she can navigate the system the white way.
Yes. How did you not lose your identity? Did you being around white people and in the white community and that kind of thing? Because
I
we
think
hear of those stories too.
Sure, sure. I think the way that I stayed within my identity is that I had a black family that pressed hair, a black family that had family, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Sundays, where we had dinners. We went to a black church. I would only interact with white people during school time, but I had a black life. My
Oh, I
brothers
love
and
it.
sisters, cousins, just raised around all of that. I did
Yes.
attend a public white institution, but when I did get there, I navigated to Black people. So I've
Okay.
always kept my identity. When we were growing up, we learned Black history and learned about Black people through our church or through our home. And that was my mother was responsible for doing most
Oh,
of
okay. I
that.
love it.
Yeah, so that's
All right.
why my siblings, all of us, we were black folks,
Yeah, I
most
got
of us
you.
was from the South.
Yeah, you can snap your neck with the best of them and all that other stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Absolutely. So
That leads to this question.
we could code
Did-
switch very well.
That's what I was going to say. But
Oh, I'm
did
sorry.
you also get pushback from black people being out there,
When
goody
I
two shoes or whatever, whatever?
not really, not really, but when I was in college, I always was asked, you sound like a white girl. And and it was from black girls.
I
It was
got
from
you.
other black people. And I'm like, well, why would you say that? Because I was raised in a black family. It's
Yes,
because I speak this way. I'm a white girl. I'm
yes,
just who I am.
yes. There you
But
go.
I never really got any pushback from, other African American people. Because remember,
Yes.
I'm the only black girl in my graduating class. That means that I'm the only person at that age range. And then my brothers and sisters had other black people in their classes, but in my class, I didn't.
Oh, all right. So now, when did you get an appreciation for Black history, though? I mean, I know you said the family to do what you do and also to be a part of Lincoln Hills as you are. How did
So
that transpire?
I can say this. When I was in the fourth grade and I took the Iowa Basic Skills Test, at the end results of the test, it kind of gives you like where you're headed. I knew I was going to be a teacher and I knew I loved history. It just showed up there. But once I got to college, I knew I was going to major in education to be a teacher, but I knew that my degree, my BS degree, would be in social sciences with an emphasis in history. And so that's where I got the history. So I learned all different types of history, but I've always been tied to African American history, learning about our people and how we have navigated systems and how we have survived to get to where we are today in America. I was a teacher when I started out in public education. I was an eighth grade social studies teacher and I taught Black history. But I also taught history around Indigenous people, history around Latinos, even history around some white people and coming into America being indentured servants and things like that. I always started at the beginning with human rights, but also putting my emphasis on Black people, Emmett Till, Martin Luther King, all of those stories that came out in my lessons. They were always there. My room was always dressed up with African American history. Um, the one thing I would do was request as many kids that I could get that were African American into my classroom because I wanted to teach our kids about our people and I wanted them to see me as an example of this is where you could be if you stay in
I
education. So
love it. I
that's
love it. Now,
yeah,
but I guess the flip side is, and this is there's a question in this comment. When we talk about Black history, though, so much of it has a negative slant. You know what I mean? Negative is what they did to us.
right.
How do you not make somebody be upset hearing all these stories? Maybe an upset is just in a broad, figurative
Sure.
way of saying it. To get to the point of the resiliency and the tenacity of us.
I think that when I think about Black history, yeah, our ancestors struggled. There were atrocities. It was horrific. I just came from Ghana about 2 weeks ago. I just got back from Ghana and went to the slave castles and all of that and heard the stories. It's just it's overwhelming, but
It's
it's
over with,
also
I'm
just
sure.
it's hard. But I think we also have um, a sense of hope. We are always we're a resilient people. We can bounce back through the faith and the belief in ourselves, and that's why I work for Lincoln Hills Cares with
Okay.
the history of Lincoln Hills and what they wanted. There was always hope and belief that you could get whatever you wanted to get. You could be on that pathway of getting that, and that's through our faith. It's through church. It's through the spirituality that we have. It's through the perseverance that we can continue to move ahead, regardless of everything that sits around us. Like with Lincoln Hills, just putting into context, it's the Great Migration. It's when we were in slavery, Reconstruction, now the Emancipation Proclamation. Now we can move, and we started to strive to move to the west, to the north. People, the Great Exodus, moving into the west. We got there, and we got there because we were mobile and we were allowed to be mobile. Even though some of us stayed back, others went ahead. And
That's true.
so we made it to the west. We started to set up camp. We set up in the Five Points area, even though we were redlined. Redlining, meaning that we weren't able to be outside these boundaries. We still made the best with what we could do and what we knew how to do. The church was instrumental in the development of Lincoln Hills. The people, businesses were thriving, even though you had Jim Crow. Denver in the 1920s had the highest population, or the second highest population of Ku Klux Klan membership in the country. So
Really?
yes, so they were marching down Larimer Street with the robes on, and the Ku Klux Klan was intertwined within the government, in businesses, in all of that. But our people continued to strive to get what they wanted. Five Points was a 5 point. It was a business of 5 blocks where you had nightclubs and you had grocery
Now
stores and
that's is
you
that
had
in Lincoln
dentists.
Hills or where is Five Points?
So Five Points is located in Denver.
Oh, it's in
And
Denver. Okay.
so it's in Denver. It was a business area. It still exists today. But the people that lived in Five Points were the people that wanted to be outdoors, because people wanted to have a space for them to go. Because during that time period, we weren't allowed to have our own spaces. We all know that. We
Yeah.
weren't allowed to have our own recreational spaces up in the mountains either. Even though white people had their spaces, they had Estes Park
Yeah.
that was built in the national forest. And so there were three gentlemen who said, you know what, we're going to purchase some land and find those spaces up for Black people. And they did.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you there in this
Sure.
regard. How did Black people get to Denver? Is there? Did they come out of the Oklahoma
So
to
a lot
get
of
there?
people,
Yeah. What's the
from what,
story?
from
I'm
what I
interested.
was told, is that you had people migrate from Oklahoma, from Kansas, Missouri, from those areas, probably from Texas, eventually making from probably a Mississippi, Arkansas to Texas to excuse me, to Kansas, and then on into to Denver. So a lot of people were from there. Some from Tennessee,
Okay.
some from Kentucky. It's
What
just a
what was the
variety.
major employer in Colorado and in Denver in particular? Was there some companies that they employed a lot of Black people? Like
I know.
Detroit had the automobile industry. Is there something there in Denver?
I do know that there were a lot of people that were coming, were they made their own businesses. I'm not for sure if there were some factories. I'm not for sure of everything that
Okay.
was
Okay.
manufactured at that time. I know there was a Black insurance company that was here. There were doctors, there were lawyers, there were
Sure.
teachers, there were people that owned their own businesses, an industry of jazz, music. All of that was happening at Denver, and I'm sure there were some other factories or businesses here at
Yeah,
that
sure.
time.
So now you let's pivot to Lincoln Hills. So
Sure.
Lincoln Hills is what? And when was it
Lincoln,
founded? Who founded
yeah.
it? That kind of thing.
So Lincoln Hills was founded in 1922 by three gentlemen they were from the Midwest that had moved out here, and they purchased land up in Gilpin County. Gilpin County is about 38 miles west of Denver. It was a mining place where they did some gold mining, which was an industry that was out here during that time when people would migrate out to Colorado. It was a mining place where it was kind of going down. And so these three gentlemen, one was out of Boulder, one was two were out of Denver. Ewalt, Regnier, and McMahon were their last names. And they had purchased this land from the Sayer family. The Sayer family had owned this mining company. It had been there from since 1863. They were gleaning and getting gold from this area, but it was running its time out. And so they sold the property to these three gentlemen, and these three gentlemen went into the Black community and started to advertise because they knew Black people wanted a place to go. And I think there was conversation within Black businesses talking about, in the early 1920s, talking about, Black people want a place to go, so let's try to find them a place. And so they went in and they advertised in churches, they advertised, in businesses. They
Okay.
put an advertisement out to the Chicago Defender to get people to come to Lincoln Hills. They wanted it
Okay.
to they
Okay.
wanted it to be a place where they could be outdoors, have cabins, stay, and just have a really good time and be free. And
Let
that
me ask
was
you this question.
sure.
When they initially bought it, did they have to camouflage that it was for Black people, or the mining company knew and was okay with it?
The mining company knew. And the reason why I was reading where the wife of Mr. House Sayer says they're going to open up a country club for the darkies. And that was her quote in a book where she knew that it was going to be for African American people. Gilpin County is a different type of county. And I could say this because you remember Clara Brown, the
Yeah,
laundress? She
yeah,
was the
yeah.
African
She's in my
American.
book. Yeah, yep,
She
she
was
sure is.
in Gilpin County. She was in Central City, and
Oh
she was the
yeah.
Black laundress. That was Gilpin County. Jeremiah Lee, he was in Gilpin County. He was a gold miner, a Black one, African American guy that was very wealthy. So these were people that were in Gilpin County already working before Lincoln Hills was established. So they were open to the outdoorsmen. They were open to the frontiersmen. It wasn't a place. Were there places in the county that people were, had differences with Black people that were racist or
So it was
prejudiced?
okay. But
Yeah,
I want to
some,
pivot
but they
just
were
a second.
accepting.
Yeah, I want to pivot. Because it amazes me when you say gold mining. What does that mean? They actually,
Panning
how do you
gold.
gold mine, and how was gold found there?
Well, panning
You know?
gold, and I don't have all the answers to the
Yeah,
gold mine
yeah, yeah, yeah,
business, but
yeah.
they would pan gold, or they would excuse me, they would mine in the mountains. Remember, the mountains were big, and there was indication that there were gold in some of those areas, and so
Is
some of
that
those people
right?
came. Yeah,
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 it was gold. So they
yeah,
would like go to the water and get the
yeah,
pan and hopefully
yeah.
find
Some of that,
they found a big enough gold. That was the
yeah.
good deal for the
Oh,
day.
absolutely,
Do,
absolutely.
do you think, or do you know that the mining company was up for sale, or did they approach them? How do you think
I
that?
believe that I believe that Mr. Sayer, House Sayer, had passed, and so there was that possibility of the mining company being
Okay,
sold. And
okay.
these three gentlemen. So McMahon was out of Boulder, but the other two gentlemen, Ewalt and Regnier, had worked in the mining business. They
So they
had been
might have
a
knew of
part of
it.
that
Yeah,
that whatever we call it, that circle of
yeah.
mining people. So they knew how to navigate that system of getting that land.
How many acres was it initially?
So, you get lots of different stories. Lincoln Hills was about 640 acres, according to some books. But the actual place of Lincoln Hills, where all the action happened, was about 100 acres
Oh.
of where it
But six
happened.
hundred acres, that's a nice sized amount of land.
Yeah. Yes, it
Um,
was.
is it? And I see the picture behind you. Is it like just it wasn't swampland. Was it just a even valley, or did they have to do? It was undesirable land initially. Any
It
of that
was,
kind
it
of?
was, it looked like undesirable land because it was a mining place. Where you had your mine shafts were there. We had pictures of the young girls that were sitting with the mine shafts. The train would come through.
Oh,
So
really?
the
Okay.
railroad that would come through. So it was kind of that undesirable land. but it was land that you could make with what you could, with what you
Okay.
could do. Yeah. And so they did. So behind me, what I have is the
Yes. What is that?
outdoor classroom dedicated to Dr. Nathaniel Howard, who was the CEO of the Lincoln Hills Cares Foundation. And he suddenly passed in 2021, September 2021. And so we dedicated an outdoor classroom. But with Lincoln Hills is on the opposite side of this classroom. So there's one side that we do all of our educational programming because we do outdoor educational programming up in the mountains between and September, in May and October. But on the other side, you see the historic Lincoln Hills. And so you'll see Winks Lodge. Winks Lodge was designated as a National Historic Landmark in December of 2023. You will see the honeymoon cabin where Lena Horne would stay when she would come up, because some of the stars would perform in the Five Points area in Denver, like Count Basie, Lena Horne, Langston Hughes would come, Zora Neale Hurston would come, Ella Fitzgerald. They would take the train up to Lincoln Hills because the train would stop at Lincoln Hills, and they would let these folks off, and they would stay in Winks Lodge, or Lena would stay in the honeymoon cabin. The person that was visionary with Lincoln Hills were two gentlemen. One was William Pitts. William Pitts was a slave out of Missouri. He had moved here in 1919. He had moved to Colorado. He had a son that was in World War One that was being hospitalized in Fitzsimmons Hospital, and he had come to make sure that his son was okay. He loved Colorado. He went back and brought his family here, and he opened businesses here. He had built cabins and resorts up in the mountains for white organizations. And this was a time for him to be the chief contractor for Lincoln Hills. So he started to build some of the cabins. He has a cabin up at Lincoln Hills called Zypher View that still stands today. There's a cabin right next to that, which is the Shangri-La cabin, owned by Charles Smith and his family. It is still there today. But the other visionary was Aubrey Wendell Winks Hamlet. Mr. Hamlet he was the greatest investor in Lincoln Hills. So he built the National Historic Landmark called Winks Lodge. He also built, and that was built in 1925. He finished it by probably about 1934. He built the Orange Cabin, which we call the Winks Cottage, which is his first home. He built the original tavern, was built in the 1920s. It was the nightclub. It was the soda shop in the day and the nightclub in the evening. He also built other cabins. There's a cabin that his sister Bessie Duvall would stay in that he built, but he also acquired some of the cabins that the mining company had, because he had the mindset of having a resort, in terms of people renting out cabins, coming up, spending the day, or spending overnight or a week, and they would
Mm,
just have a great time
okay.
up there. So he was,
Is there something to the landscape, um, uh, in terms of, like, is there a lake or is there
makes
water or
so
something
there
like
is a
that that
lake.
makes it cute?
So in front of what you're seeing right now
Yeah.
is Lake Pactolus, and Pactolus was the name of the mining company that was there. But in
Okay.
the winter, they would make ice from that lake. And so you see this big, if you ever come to Lincoln Hills, you'll see this structure where they would carry the ice and put it on the train and take it back down to Denver. So they did have the Faro Ice House was there as well. It is now today the Lincoln Hills Fly Fisher Club, where we do fly fishing up at Lincoln Hills.
Hmm.
Um, but you could also ice skate in the winter up there. So families from Gilpin County and places would come and ice skate. Lincoln Hills was only open from May until September
Yeah, yeah, I was going
because
to ask, was it year round living?
yes, it's not a year-round place.
It gets cold,
It
understandably,
will
in the
go.
winter,
Mhm.
and probably a fair amount of snow. So,
Absolutely a fair amount of
yeah,
snow.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so when Mr. Hamlet was building Wings Lodge, he had a lot of help from his brother Clarence, who helped him build a number of the structures. but Clarence helped him build Winks Lodge as well as other people. What
Yeah.
what about Black people? The difference between Black people and white people in this sense in this day and age is that we were very inclusive. So there were white people that would come to Winks Lodge, not necessarily stay there, but would help build, would go to the tavern, have a cocktail. Because this was during Prohibition, he was selling 3-2 beer and hot dogs and had a jukebox and hamburgers. And they were partying and they were drinking. So Lincoln Hills predated the civil rights movement and the civil rights laws. There were things that were happening at Lincoln Hills that were fun, vibrant. People felt safe. People loved to come. Churches would come have picnics. The train would bring them up and would stop at Lincoln Hills, let people off. You would see people with their luggage and their high heels and their dress clothes because
Sure.
everybody didn't have the play clothes and dress clothes, but they would
Sure.
come, they would stay in cabins. There are
Eh,
about 20 cabins that were built at Lincoln Hills. There are still existing cabins to this day that are there.
just 20 captains.
About 20 to 30 cabins, yeah. Not a
Oh,
lot.
so it never did become a large community.
It never became a large community. And some of the mountain that you're sitting on, so you have some plain, but then you have a lot of rugged. So people bought lots. There were 1,700 lots that were plotted for Lincoln Hills when the gentleman first plotted them. 1,100 of them were sold, and 470 of them were paid in full. You have to remember is when Lincoln Hills was founded in 1922, got started about 25, 27. We were running into the Great Depression. And so people that put their money down or had purchased something couldn't continue to pay, or they just lost out on their land.
Oh
And
man.
that's what happened with some of it. So they weren't even able to build because of what was happening in our country at that time.
Oh, is there because of the weather something unique about the cabins? Are they like all some sort of wood or anything like that, or
So
something
so when you
unique
look
to
at
the
Winks
structure?
Lodge, so when you look at Winks Lodge, you see that, and I'll talk about him, but some of the cabins are just one room cabins. They're just one room. Maybe have a couple of rooms, maybe what is it, a wood burning stove that you would have. You'd have to go get your water from the South Boulder Creek, which is the river, and walk it up in pails. You had outhouses because you didn't have really indoor plumbing. Wings Lodge is really unique, is because it was built into the mountain. And so if you ever come to Colorado, which I'm sure you'll come next summer, I
Sure,
invite
sure,
you out to come.
sure. I'm
Um,
there.
yeah, you can see how Winks Lodge is built into the mountain. Mr. Hamlet used a car motor to saw the wood. He did have a car. He had a big truck that he'd drive up, and he would pick up stuff as he was driving. Winks is made of salvaged or things that he had picked up from the city. So if a building was going down, or they were knocking down the Denver Post building, or they were knocking down the any kind of building, he would pick up pieces for Winks Lodge and drive it up and add it to Winks Lodge. So it's
I got you.
piecemeal. Even though you see stained glass windows, you see tin roofs, you see
Okay, I got you.
tin ceilings, you see wallpaper, you see newspaper stuffed into the walls for insulation. Um,
Oh, I see.
yeah, you see all these different things at Winks Lodge, and that's how he put it together. But it's well constructed because the original building is sitting right there in the mountain.
Is there was there something to the wildlife? Bears in that area
Yeah, oh,
that they always
absolutely.
had to
There's,
kind of watch out for,
oh, yeah, we
coyotes,
have
any of
all
those kind of things.
there's all kinds of friends up there, right? Moose and things like that. But back in the day, there were bears, there were beavers, there were all those folks. But the main thing that people did up in Lincoln Hills is that they fished. And so you could fly fish, trout being the state fish of Colorado. And so you could fish in the South Boulder Creek. There were times at Wings Lodge, Melba, one of his second wife, she would fry fish. She would have different types of meats up there. You know, you have pork chops, you have pot roast or what have you. She cooked rhubarb pie. She, collard greens. I mean, it was some of the best eating that people could get up there. They were horseback riding, so they would horseback ride. What was unique is I've seen pictures of a farmer had a bunch of sheep and they would be walking down the hill. There were lamb, so you see baby lamb and all of those different things. So their animals were there, but there were also the wild animals of the forest. They were there
What
as well.
did the community ever face any racist acts?
At Lincoln Hills.
Yes.
Judge Gary Jackson is a retired district judge down here in Denver, and he talks about how his family would drive up, and there's a community that they would drive through, and they would never stop. And the reason why is because the Ku Klux Klan was heavy in that area. But once you got into Lincoln Hills, I'm sure there may have been some acts, but from what I've read, it was a black place. Lincoln Hills was built for black people. It was built by black people, and it was protected by black people, meaning that the sheriff deputized Winks Hamlet to be the deputy over Lincoln Hills, and then he deputized his wife Melba.
Oh, okay. Because you said there was a lot of KKK in Denver and in the community,
Yes.
but they never did burn no crosses and try to burn out
So not
Lincoln
not
Hill.
at Lincoln Hills. So in the city, you still the city, from what I gathered from some of the descendants that I talked to, in the city, Denver was just as bad as the South, is what one told me.
Yeah,
There
that's what
were
I heard
cross
too.
burnings for people who were trying to build new homes.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Klan did march through the neighborhood. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, they couldn't go to
Okay.
restaurants and movie theaters and things like that.
What is so what's the heyday of Lincoln Hills, and then did it decline at some point, and
Yeah.
now what's the status today?
Okay. Okay. So Lincoln Hills started in 1922, got started in 25, and lasted until 1965. Number one, the reason why it lasted until 65 is because the Civil Rights Act was passed. But also, Mr. Hamlet had passed away as well. And so by that time, since the Civil Rights Act had passed, more people were trying to venture out to see what were these other places like. There's one group that I did not talk about that I need to talk about, and that is Camp Neshoni. Camp Neshoni at Lincoln Hills was a place for African American girls to go between the age middle school and high school girls. It was an outdoor camp that lasted for about a month, 6 weeks in the summer from June until August. These girls would come up and swim, they would fish, they would do nature hikes, they would do just be in the outdoors and have a great time. It was ran by the Phyllis Wheatley YWCA, which was founded out of Washington, D.C., but a branch was out of Denver, founded in Shorter Community AME Church in 1916. And so it's prominent because a lot of prominent people came out of there. Marie L. Greenwood, first African American tenured teacher out of Denver Public Schools, was a camper and a camp counselor. Nancilia E. Jackson Scott, she was the mother of Judge Jackson. She was prominent, a mother, a writer, an author. She was out of there. Jenny Rucker, who was a historian, she was out of Camp Neshoni. And there were many other girls that went to
Sure,
Camp
sure.
Neshoni. It was really prominent. But Lincoln Hills lasted, and Camp Neshoni lasted from 1926 to 1945. But Lincoln Hills lasted until 65. Today, what's happening at Lincoln Hills is that we're in the process of preserving and restoring Winks Lodge and that whole area. We're designating that area as a Winks Lodge has been designated as a National Historic Landmark since 2023. And now we're looking at preserving the area and considering it, and hopefully this designation would pass as a historic district or traditional cultural property. Traditional cultural property meaning that the culture, the spirit, the way of life still exists up at Lincoln Hills. If we are designated as a TCP, we will be the second in the country behind the Gullah Geechee people in South Carolina, which is
Oh,
another African
really?
American
Yeah.
site.
Sure, sure.
So
What?
currently, what Lincoln Hills is doing, Lincoln Hills Cares, we are the manager, the foundation is the managers of the Lincoln Hills property. But on the other side, we have outdoor educational programming for
Yeah.
young.
What? What is the some of those original buildings? I know you said something about the lodge, but are others like some of
Yes,
the
they are.
cabins still standing? And so, do
Yeah.
people still do they go up there in the summertime now?
Yes. So some of the
To
cabins are
enjoy that
livable.
area.
Yeah, some of the cabins are livable, like the Jackson Scott family stays in their cabin. The cabin, the Shangri-La next to them is open and the family stays there. Once, they come up and visit. There are a couple of other families up there that stay in their cabins during the summer months to come to visit. The historical buildings that are still there is Camp Nishoni Hotel, which is now called the Nancelia E. Scott Jackson hotel. The Camp Nishoni boarding house is still original. It was built 1915. Nishoni Hotel was built in 1901. Um, the the um, the tavern is original. It's still there. The Winks Cottage is original. It's still there. It was built in the early 20s.
And functional?
It's not functional, but it's still there. It's
Still
got
there.
some
Okay, I got you.
significance.
I
No
got you.
one's living in it, but it's going to be restored. And then
Okay.
the honeymoon cabin, it's I guess you could stay in the honeymoon cabin, but it's functional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there has gentrification came come that way, or do y'all find a way to not sell the land to white people or otherwise?
So Lincoln Hills is owned. There's several in the Lincoln Hills area. There's some private ownership of other people. Uh,
Okay.
but with Winks Lodge, the Orange Cabin, the Tavern, um, and I believe the Nishoni houses are all owned by a sole owner that owns
Oh,
the Lincoln Hills area. Yeah.
oh,
And we
okay.
just manage it. Yeah.
Do you what do you want to happen there? Do you want people to now take advantage of this to take it, bring it back to where it used to be, build more cabins, make it a thriving community?
I think what we want is I want to tell the story. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Um, I do want people to know that things were happening in Colorado. Um, Lincoln Hills was the first African American resort west of the Mississippi in the early 1920s. And that's the story that hasn't been told. The
Sure. I never
story,
heard of it. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, a lot of people haven't heard of it. And I think sometimes it was the secret of the community. They wanted to have their own space. And so sometimes when you have your own space, you just don't tell.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody, we all know, but other people don't know,
I
right?
got you.
And so, and so that's why the story is now coming alive. So that's one thing. Eventually, we are going to restore Winks Lodge, rehab Winks Lodge, and then we're making plans to, possibly have a place where people can come and visit. But that's
Okay.
just in the making for right now.
Okay.
We have educational programming for young people. We do a history hike. So say for example, if you come up next summer and you want to come up to Winks Lodge, we'll take you up. We'll do a history hike where you can learn about all the cabins and the whole area and what happened during that time period and actually see Winks Lodge. And then come down and maybe do some archery because we
Okay.
offer that on the other side of the property, or maybe ride the horses, or fly fish a little bit, or
Yeah,
do
sure.
some gardening because we do that on the other side for young people.
What is how did you find out about this? May I ask that?
So I was so Nate, who's a good friend of mine, we're all educator friends. He asked me to be on the board, the foundation board, And I joined the board, I believe in 2016, 2017. I joined the foundation board and was on the foundation and learned about
Had you heard
his.
about it prior to that though?
No, I had not heard about it, Lincoln Hills.
Oh man. Is
Yeah.
it does it have a historical marker in Lincoln Hills?
Now it does. Yes. Wings
It
Lodge
does
is
now.
a
Okay.
National Historic. Yeah. And so people in Denver, some people in Denver knew about it, but not everybody.
Yeah,
So
sure. I
those who
got you.
went up when they were kids, so now those who were adults, they're all deceased. Now the kids are in their 70s and 80s that
Yeah,
went up.
sure. Sure.
And so
Sure.
they knew about it,
Yeah,
but
sure.
for all of us to know about it, no.
Does that train still go there?
The train drives by.
Yeah.
The Amtrak does.
Yeah.
The ski train does, and the Colorado Mountaineer does.
Okay.
And so they drive by and they wave. And I believe what I was told is that when they're driving by, the conductor will talk about the history of Lincoln Hills.
What is the website of your organization, and how people
Webs
who are watching this, how do they get involved, and
okay.
do you want
So you can go
developers to help you? Yeah, tell us that
absolutely.
stuff.
We're always looking for someone to donate, to
Yes.
support our programs, to support the preservation efforts, because preservation isn't cheap. It costs
Yes.
monies.
Right.
And so you would go to our website, www.lincolnhillscares.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. You can look in on those sites, but if you go to our website, go push that donate button. If you want
Yeah.
to connect with us and have a tour next summer, because right now our touring is closed. But if you want a tour, just connect with us, go there and sign up, and we'll get you accommodated.
Oh, is there a festival or something that you have people come up, like a remembrance? Like, do the descendants come up? Not descend, of the
Yeah, yeah,
community.
yeah.
Do they come up
So
for, once a weekend, and it's a
no,
big party or any of that kind of thing?
we're not there now, but I can say we're not there yet. But I
All right.
can say this is that this summer we opened our new exhibit of Lincoln Hills in the History Colorado Center. So say for example, you're in Denver, it's during the winter months, and you want to see the history of Lincoln Hills, you won't be able to make it to the original site, but you can go into the History Colorado Center, which is a museum in downtown Denver, to actually see the exhibit that we have. And it's a brand new exhibit that we launched just in June.
Okay. I guess one more that came to mind. Lincoln Hills, the community or the land is not fenced off, is it? I mean,
No,
so if I came in the winter, I could drive up there.
you could drive up there, but
Yeah.
we do have security. Okay, just to let you know that we have
Security
some.
that drives around the property.
No, so
Yeah. How does
but
that
if
look?
you drive up there in the winter, you may not make it because you might be under 5 feet of snow, because Lincoln Hills is at 8,300 feet um, above sea level.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Lincoln Hills is 8,100. Winks Lodge is 8,300. So that's
So
even
it's
going up. Yeah,
so
it's up in
it's
the
a lot of
mountains.
snow up there, even still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. All right. I
yeah,
got you.
yeah.
Lastly, is there a question or something that you wanted to share that I have not asked?
I
Anything
think
come to mind?
Um, you know, um, I think I'm okay. I just
Okay.
want
Okay.
people to know about, this was an important place. It was a place that was a place of hope and resilience, but it was also a safe haven and it was a sanctuary. And
Okay.
churches were instrumental in the development of Lincoln Hills, as well as the community. And there was a support and it was inclusive. And
Okay.
that's the message I want to send, is that
Yeah, I
Lincoln
got you. I
Hills
love
is
it.
a sacred place and loved by Black people.
Has anybody written not a, a book about it?
There's been one or two books, but we'll see. Maybe
Okay.
there'll be some others. There's some excerpts of in books where
Okay.
people have talked about Lincoln Hills, but not a full book of Lincoln
Oh
Hills.
no, so that's another angle, and it is mentioned in
Absolutely.
my book. That's my land,
Yes.
everybody. So it just gives you a little bit about Lincoln Hills and introduce you
Mhm.
to it. Well, I thank you so very much for coming on the
Thank
show.
you. Thank
Very
you.
very informative, and with passion.
Okay.
This has become for your on your personal note. So why do you do this? I mean,
I love it. I
yeah,
love it. It's about us. It's a best kept secret, which I want people to know the secret, but it's about us. It's about
yeah.
Black pride. It's about identity. It's
I
about
love it.
seeing us as we're just not those folks. We're people that can do all kinds of stuff. We build
I love it.
businesses, but we can also build resorts and enjoy them and have fun. And everybody, it's inclusive for all kids, parents, grandparents, everyone can
There
be at
you go.
House.
All right. Well, again, thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on the show and sharing that. All the website and everything will be in the
Sure.
description. Everybody hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspirations. Come on, the numbers are up because it's this kind of information that I am fortunate to be able to meet these kind of people to tell you this. So this is where you get it. Straight no chaser to intoxicate your mind, not DUI though, but the way you stagger hearing some of these amazing stories like of Lincoln Hills, Colorado. So do that. Go to their website. Go to my website, everybody. Get you a copy of the books here where I'm speaking. And to you, my sister, and I say this and I mean this with all sincerity. I want you to stay strong, stay
I
safe,
am.
stay on your grind, keep doing what you're doing, and leading that effort to keeping that jewel of the Colorado of the West, the
Yes.
history and the present alive. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you for that. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on.
Thank you. Have a good
Uh-huh.
day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye bye.